Ignite is an ongoing series of speedy presentations. Each speaker gets only 5 minutes and 20 slides that auto-advance every 15 seconds.
Our next speaker has come down from her self-professed ivory tower at the university to speak with us. And lucky she has, because after she finishes her PhD, she's going to go sailing around the world. So lucky she's here with us tonight. So I'd like to introduce to you with music of the sea, no, sounds of the sea, music of fish,
and the noise of
and
humans.
the noise of humans, Anai Tilquin.
You've probably heard that before. It's the song of a whale. This is a bit more exotic. It's a walrus. And this is a trawler in the North Sea. Now, what is this? What you have just heard were the vocalizations of those 4 species of fish. Does it surprise some of you? Personally, the first time I heard recordings of fish, I was flabbergasted. But it's not even a big secret. I mean, people have known that for thousands of years. In traditional societies, they still have fishermen that locate fish schools by listening to them. And we know of 1,000 species of fish that produce sound in seawater, in fresh water, and they use lots of different mechanisms. Some of them grind their teeth, some of them stridulate their limbs like crickets, some of them drum on their swim bladder, some of them play the guitar on their tendons, some, like those herrings, do farts. It's not what you think. They expel air through their anal ducts, producing what biologists call fast, repetitive ticks, farts. So what do they do with those farts? Group coordination, of course. But other fish use vocalization for competitive interactions to defend resource or territory or to scare a predator away. What else would you do if you were a fish able to sing? Courtship, of course, which is a very important part of their life. Some fish, for instance, the males would build their little burrow and sit there and call the females. But the females don't only use sound to locate their potential partners, they also use it to assess whether it would be a good partner. Sexual selection is very important to keep species healthy. And from the sound, they can tell if the male is fit, if he can sing loud and long. They can tell if he's big, if he has a very low frequency. So for the life of this fish, it is an incredibly important component. Now, not all species are able to produce sound, but all species of fish are able to hear. How do they do that? We humans are sensitive to the pressure of a sound wave. The fish that possess a swim bladder are also sensitive to pressure, but not all of them do. All of them, however, have this little apparatus called Otolith in their head. You can see it when you're preparing a fish for dinner. And that allows them to feel particle motion. They can feel the molecules moving in the sound wave. And so they can really tell where the sound is coming from, something we're really shit at in water. So what do they listen to? The frequency that humans can hear are between the 2 dashed lines. So fish can kind of hear what we can hear, a bit more on the lower side. And sea mammals like dolphins, narwhals, you'll hear more about narwhals later on, by the way, they hear higher frequencies. Now, what kind of noise do we make at sea? Well, you've all heard of sonar being a hazard for sea mammals, but basically everything else is a hazard for fish. From the blasts of pile driving, the hum of wind farms, and of course the engines of the countless of ships that are plying the oceans. All of these overlap what the information fish need to hear. And it results, all this noise, perpetual noise in elevated stress levels, that triggers a lower immune response. They get distracted. Finding your prey, avoiding your predator gets difficult. If the noise is too loud, it can result in auditory damage, tisular injuries, and of course, masking. Now, at sea, sound is very useful to know where you are. It's called the soundscape. Now, imagine you're this little guy. Here, you're a fish larva. You're barely bigger than plankton. And you need to find yourself a coral reef in order to grow and become an adult. How do you do that? You listen. And you hear the sound of the reef. So you swim towards it. But suddenly, a powerboat passes by, and you get disoriented, and you take a wrong turn, and you end up in the open ocean, and you die. It's pretty sad, but it happens. We just don't know how much. And decision makers, they always want to know numbers. They want to know how many tons of fish get lost every year due to sound pollution, due to being stressed, disoriented, not finding their partner. But we can't give them this number because we have only one planet, and it's noisy everywhere. This map here is all the shipping that takes place in 1 year. Basically, everything we buy generates noise at sea. Everything useless we buy generates useless sound at sea. Now, what can we do about it? We can consume less and from less far away. And what's great is that this is also the solution to lots of other problems. That's what we can do as citizens. But there's also more. The states are finding now that they realize that underwater noise pollution is potentially a big issue. The European Union, for instance, they are considering schemes of relocating shipping routes further from sensitive areas, instituting speed limitations, different engines. They are dreamers, and I'm one of those who believe in maybe a sail revolution for sailing cargo around the world and using the power of wind. But none of this would happen if we don't share the word of the marvels of the ocean. And I would like to end with the chorus of fish at dawn on a coral reef. Thank you.